You guys, this episode today has been brought to you by Hello Ruby. That's right, my online store, shophelloruby.com. We started in 2017 with a fashion truck and quickly brought everything online. You can use code POD15 for 15% off today with your order, and there's no limit, so you can use it every time you shop. Again, use code POD15 at shophelloruby.com. Give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok. Thank you. Welcome back to Where There's a Wheel, There's a Way. I'm Jill Dudzinski, and today we chatted with Rick Knudsen. And as Danielle from Summerhouse would say, he is the founder and CEO of a business. But he is an entrepreneur here in Omaha. So happy to chat with him. Let's get into it. You can talk, but we won't be able to hear you. So I know. But if we we can't hear you.
We're going to start now.
We're starting. Welcome to the podcast.
Excited to be here.
Thank you so much, you guys. We have Rick Knudsen here. Is that how you say it?
Say it again.
Knudsen?
Yeah.
It's spelt differently than everyone else's, though.
Yeah. There's a D and a T, and it's complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also his wife, Heather, is here, who's my friend. So that's why we got this amazing interview. And I'm loving the juxtaposition on this podcast because last time we had Colt Paulson, gay man with a spray tan, and now we have a tech mogul here. So
different, yeah. Less followers.
Yes,
what I learned.
Little bit.
Yep.
Little bit. Well, thank you. I am so excited to hear about your career. I feel like you're known around Omaha as the Flywheel guy, one of the Flywheel guys.
That is true. That's probably the only reason I get invited to things like this is because of Flywheel. So
yeah. Well, I feel like that's what you're most known for.
Yeah. That's right.
But I'm excited to hear about your new ventures too.
For sure.
Yeah, can you tell me about Flywheel, like how you started, what your role was? And I feel like we've had this conversation drunk in Chicago.
For sure, yeah, we have.
But my memory.
Yeah, and I don't remember what was said then.
I feel like we still never finished it.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll do it here. We'll do it here for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, so Flywheel, my background a little bit, I'm from Omaha, born and raised. I was kind of grew up just tinkering with websites, learning how to code at a really young age. I was kind of interested in, this is the dawning of the internet. It's like the AOL days, so it was always interesting to me. And I think I was 15 years old when I built my first website, trying to figure that out. And
using WordPress?
Oh no, WordPress
wasn't a thing yet.
Wasn't a thing then.
JavaScript?
No.
Don't I sound so knowledgeable?
Yeah, look at you. You got the words. What else you got?
Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
I have Java.
Okay.
I have QA testing.
Sure.
What other buzzwords do I have? I used to be
I have
IT
jobs
recruiter.
at Workshop for you, so this is great.
Perfect. I could speak on them.
Fantastic. Yeah. There was no JavaScript, no WordPress back then.
So what was it?
Oh, we used it was when MySpace, you could code your own pages.
No.
Remember this?
No.
You had a MySpace though, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
You could customize the colors. You don't remember this?
Oh yeah, but I didn't know that was coding.
Yeah, you were coding back then.
Oh.
Yeah, you were absolutely coding.
I'll add that to my resume.
There's a website called GeoCities way back in the day, which was this really gross website builder thing that us nerdy kids when we were 12 would build things on. That was probably the equivalent to WordPress of the day, which is kind of funny to say out loud. But so from an early age, I was interested in websites. And then I decided when I was going to school, I wanted to learn more about software engineering. So I actually studied computer science because I was I want to build websites for a living. That was my thing. So I went to school here in Omaha, studied computer science. And when I graduated, I worked at a small agency here in Omaha, a creative agency that built websites. It was a company called BrightMix. Doesn't exist.
I was just going to ask.
Doesn't exist anymore. There was a handful of companies in Omaha that I was really interested in working for, mostly just because I wanted to work at a very creative space. And it was, companies like Secret Penguin that still exist today that do a lot of great brand work. What Cheer was a company back then that doesn't exist either, but that creative director went on to be creative director at Huddle. So really, really talented. And then BrightMix was one of them as well. And to be honest, the story is I sent an email to all three of them the year before I graduated saying, hey, I want to intern this summer. Do you have any room for me? Can I just come hang out? Only one replied with a yes, and that was BrightMix, and the founder of that company is Dusty Davidson that became my co-founder at Flywheel.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I
That's a great story.
It could have went three different ways.
Yeah.
And that email really probably changed the course of my life in lots of ways.
Wow.
So yeah, so then
I also love that just as a small business owner, like opportunities do not come to your doorstep. You literally have to network, get out there. Like that's a great point.
The number of people that, because I've hired a lot of people over the years now, the number of people that have emailed me directly and just said, hey, I would love nothing more than just work at your company, I can count on one hand, and I've probably hired all of them.
Yep.
It's like, it actually says a lot about someone, I think. So,
and they're probably the most successful too, because how they're a go-getter.
They know what they want, and they're going to get it, So from there, I worked with Dusty for a little bit building websites, and this was when WordPress was kind of becoming a thing. This was 2010. And how old was I then? I don't know, 22, something like that. Is that right?
Wild. Yeah, I don't know. Carry the one.
Yeah, it's a long time ago now. Oh man, been building websites for half my life. This is a lot. This is okay. Yeah, it was 2010-ish, and WordPress became kind of the platform we were using to build all websites for clients. And and what it did was allow like people like myself. Yes, I studied computer science, but I'm not the best coder. I'll put it that way. Like my company today they don't let me code anymore. I'll put it that way.
They're like, get out of here, Rick.
They 100% are. Yeah. And every time they delete a line of code of mine from the app, they make sure I'm aware of that. So that's good. But WordPress allowed like non-technical people to build like pretty robust, pretty dynamic, complicated websites. And it became quite easy to build a pretty expensive website. And what I saw was that there's, I'm building these things. Maybe I should just like do this on my own. So I left the agency and freelanced for about a year. And the story of Flywheel really was that I was living at home. I was in my parents' basement in my room. I set up a desk. I was like running my own little creative agency, building websites. And I got an email from a woman out in New York that got connected to me somehow and said, hey, I'm building this website for this big architecture firm. I need someone to develop the site for me. I'm going to design it and manage the client. Would you be interested? It's a big contract. I'll split it 50-50 with you. It was like a $40,000 contract. I'm 22 years old, and I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'll take the 20 G's for sure. But the problem was that I had built like 3 or 4 WordPress sites by that point on my own. Every one of them got hacked. They were all slow and much cheaper than $40,000. So I was like kind of concerned that I was going to build this website for this big architecture firm and it was going to get hacked. So then I called my good buddy, Tony, who became a partner at Flywheel as well, and said, hey, I'll split my money with you if you build this really great server and make sure this site never gets hacked. I'll develop it, but I need it to like not get hacked and be super fast. I just don't want the liability or anything like that. That server became Flywheel. So we took that and we said, oh, this is pretty good. This makes sites really fast. It's secure. It's really easy to use. Maybe we can sell it to our friends in Omaha that also build websites. And that spawned Flywheel, a website hosting platform on WordPress. Yeah.
So I know, not a lot about WordPress, but now I feel like I'm selfishly taking this over because I'm curious.
Sure.
Like we use Squarespace, we use Shopify. Are those just like competitors of WordPress? But I feel like, aren't those secure or are they not secure?
They are very secure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Squarespace, Shopify, absolutely competitors of WordPress.
Okay. So WordPress just didn't have that built in because it's more developer-y and not end-user-y?
They're different in one very obvious way when you're like actually building the website. And that is that Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, these platforms that are kind of like all in one and you really can't touch the code. It's like drag and drop or like WordPress is not that. WordPress is fully custom. You can do whatever you want with it. You have to host it on your own server.
So that's why. Okay.
And for that reason, like you might know how to build a website. You might not know how to secure it. Why would you? Like you don't need to do that in today's world. So that's why a lot of people like Squarespace and the like.
Yeah.
So it's different in that way.
If only the airlines knew about it.
Oh, today. Yeah. That's funny.
This is going to come out August 2nd, so it's probably over there.
For those listening, it's the CrowdStrike day.
It is the CrowdStrike day.
I saw that Starbucks' like machines were down.
Oh, I was
couldn't order. Like it was a whole thing.
Well, I was on TikTok and some girl was explaining it very well, and I'm like, God, I love people that just explain stuff where I can understand.
I need that for today. I don't know what's going on, but it was like Y2K.
Yeah, crazy, scary. Very cool. Okay, so then how long did you got both partners in with you right away? How'd you name it? Did you name it?
Great question. I did name it.
You did?
I did, yeah. I had 2 partners. Tony Naker, he was co-founder, CTO, so like the technologist, and then I actually wasn't CEO of that
LOL
company.
Listeners, CTO from last episode, Chief Tanning Officer.
Oh, the Chief, yeah. That's Tony. That's Tony as well. Tony at Flywheel was Chief Tanning Officer. I'll make sure to tag him so you can listen to this. Yeah, he was a different CTO. Yeah, he was Technology Officer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know.
I've heard of it.
Everybody has one of those. And then and I wasn't CEO of that company. I actually asked Dusty, who I had worked for, who was kind of transitioning out of that agency and doing some other work, if he would be the CEO of this company. To be honest, like I was kind of starting on the side, and the reason I did that was I was 24 years old. I didn't know anything. Yeah. He had found success in the past, and so I somehow convinced both those guys to join me, and that was
so really
2012.
You should be in sales, not tech.
I've been in sales many times too. Yes, I think that if you're a founder of a company, you're always selling.
Yeah, exactly.
As you probably know all too well.
So, like, what aspect did you take care of, and then what aspect did your co-founders take care of?
Yeah. So, there were three of us when we started. We all could write code. Okay. So, like, we all kind of built the original product, which was great because we could build it quickly. Over time, though, say year two. I ended up running kind of marketing and sales for a while. And then over time, went back to products. So running the product strategy and managing the engineers and the product designers and that sort of thing. So that's probably where my passion is like building the product. But at Flywheel, I managed at one point almost every department, so it was from actually building the product to running marketing and to running sales. Then I eventually we hired an outside head of sales, and I went back to running product, and then also ran the engineering team for a little bit. Kind of did it all in some respects.
So like a small business.
100%, yeah.
So when did you go from small, it's kind of working, we're kind of growing, to like being like, okay, this is huge, and like, first of all, you can answer that first, and then I'm going to go into anxiety and overwhelm and how you deal with that.
I don't. I feed off of it. Yeah. I don't think that when we started the company, I think that we all knew it could be big because the website hosting industry was big. So it was like there was a lot of companies that obviously had found scale. Did we believe that we could do it? Like, I don't know, probably not. And
just kept going,
and I think that the early days, what we would do, and I think this is probably true for any small business owner just getting started, is like, how do I wake up and decide what to do today? Because you could do 1,000 things, and all we really wanted to do in the early days was prove that we could predictably sell another thing, and maybe hopefully more than we did yesterday. So we set some like really lame goals in the early days, which was like, let's call 50 agencies today, and let's do it for an entire month. So we would literally do that work. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, they'd be like, so what do you like, how do you find your first customer? I'm like, literally just call 1,000. You'll get one. Yeah. And we did that. So in the early days, it was really focused on like, how do you find customers? And then suddenly it was like, oh man, they're finding us. A lot of word of mouth, agencies, a lot of folks kind of go from one agency to the next. And I think that it was probably a year into the business where we decided we should go raise outside money and hire some salespeople and more engineers. There's a lot of opportunity. We should actually just do this. But it took us about 12 months. That's
what I think would be the scariest, deciding to get investors. Personally, I think that's so scary.
It can be. I mean, you have to be a good shepherd of the capital. You have to. You have to honestly, like I always tell anyone that's starting a company, if you're starting a business and you're not considering the fact that you're going to be married to this thing for 10 years, then like you're probably already in the wrong state of mind. That's very true with outside investors because they expect to get their money back and hopefully and some. You know? So yeah, it can be stressful, but if you believe in the company and you have like a system to like deploy the money and get more out, whether that's like hiring salespeople and you can sell the product, you just need more people to do the work.
Right.
Like then you should always do it. Yeah. But it's still stressful.
Yeah. So how did you go about finding, I know we had talked a little bit about how people email you, but like your first hire, your second hire, your third hire, what was that like?
Yeah. Back in the Flywheel days, Twitter was this kind of like fledgling thing. And what we had built from a brand perspective was, so the hosting industry at the time was like super techy. So like, again, I went to school to study computer science. I couldn't even understand some of the language they'd use on these hosting websites because I'm not like a hardware, I don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
So as like these website builders, kind of like these web developers, if you will, you know, they speak a different language than these like hardcore technologists that are building these servers. So we built that brand to be like less technical, and we wanted to build it on top of this idea that like customer service was like number one. And if you were going to be an agency and you were going to email us about a question, we probably should have someone who worked at an agency before. They can like understand, like kind of like, actually you're talking on behalf of a client. Probably
right.
It's not your problem. You're trying to like help a client. So the first hire that we made was trying to convince someone who worked at an agency to come work for us and do tech support, which is crazy. So we hired a guy named Josh Mason, who's down in Arizona, a good friend of mine now, employee number 1 at Flywheel, employee number 1 at my new company. But he worked in an agency, and he was a web developer that came and literally took a bet and said, hey, let's do tech support and help other agencies with their website issues. But I found him on Twitter.
I love that.
I was just trolling Twitter, and I was looking at the Omaha web development list community thing at the time, and he was on there. We started chatting, and took me taking him out for beers 3 times to convince him to work at the company. So
only 3, not bad.
Not bad, yeah, not bad.
Okay.
I would say with Workshop, it was just a text. He was like, yeah, I'll
yeah.
It was like, yeah.
So Workshop is Rick's newest venture.
That is true, yes.
Which I feel like I also needed in my life, but okay. I don't think you ever told me about how you came up with Flywheel, the name.
Yeah, the name.
I think I cut you off.
No, you're good. No, yeah, I'm rambling at times. So we had a different name, and I hate to admit the name of it, so I won't.
No, please, God, please.
It's so bad.
Like, how bad?
Right.
His wife's laughing over here.
So,
and I need to hear it.
The name, oh gosh, the name we had picked down was Orchard.
Like apple orchard.
Yep, like an apple orchard.
I don't think that's, I mean, I thought you were going to say like.
It's a gross word, orchard. it's not a good word.
Oh, I don't think it's as bad as you were.
Okay,
I was envisioning like butt.
That's
moist.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have got as far if it was called moist web hosting.
So orchard, like pick the perfect apple in the orchard.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, you get it totally. So actually we were going down this like anti-hosting thing.
Okay.
And I was like, well, what's a server farm look like?
I get it.
But I don't want it to be technical, so like let's call it Orchard. And we could do a bunch of like things like that. There's a lot of branding opportunities. I designed the whole website. We had a logo, and then we sent it off to our attorneys, and they were like, "There's like a company in the UK that has that exact name.
Oh shit!
You probably shouldn't do that." So we literally had customers at the time, and we were planning on doing a public launch and the whole thing. So we had like to redo all of it in like a couple days. And I was just on some website reading the news, I think, and the word Flywheel was just in the name or in the text. And I was like, that's a kind of a cool name for a company. And there's like something about the momentum behind it. And like, that's pretty exciting. And then also I love the word, it's something that's very technical. It's like inside an engine, makes an engine kind of like go, yet it's whimsical. It's like fly and like it feels.
And it also feels a little superior.
Yeah, there you go.
Like flying over people.
So there's no like great.
Where there's a flywheel, there's a way.
Like I need to make a decision in 24 hours, and like that's where we land.
Good. Orchard's not terrible either, though.
All right, well,
give yourself some credit.
I've told that story only twice before, maybe. So.
Oh, you heard it here twice.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so then when did you decide? Is it you making decisions? Is it all of you together? Like, how do you manage that? And then when did you decide ultimately? We maybe want to sell, and why was that decision made?
Yeah. The story of selling, it's more organic, you know, I think in our case, but I think that there's another world where it could have been a little bit more intentional. But, our employees would often, so we had about 200 employees when we sold the company. Okay. So our employees would often ask, like, are you going to sell the company? And what's the story here? Like, what are you doing, And what we'd always say is that the investors expect a return on their capital. So that can come in lots of ways, right? We could sell the business, of course. We could find new investors to buy them out for a premium. That's an interesting thing to do. Or maybe like we just like make a lot of money and it cash flows and we like pay them back over time. That's maybe interesting too. So there's lots of like ways to do it, but the most likely solution is that either investors are going to come out and buy a big chunk of the company or we're going to sell the business. So, but at the end of the day, we said, we're just going to build a good business and hopefully those things work themselves out.
Right.
So we really never went out and shopped things around, but we had maybe 2 or 3 offers along the way that were interesting enough to explore. All kind of in the website and WordPress hosting, I guess, like industry. It kind of came down to a few things. I mean, when you sell a company, you probably need to worry about like 3 things. One is, do you like the business that is going to shepherd it forward, right? It is like something that you put a lot of time and effort into. You probably need to work with those people a little bit too. So hopefully they could be a good partner for you for a while. And then also you'd be proud and probably happy to see it move forward with them. I think that's like super important. Like, do you actually respect the company that you're selling to in our case? Are you having fun? Is the company still exciting to you? And
was it for you?
It was. Okay. I think we were very excited about it at the time. And the third thing is like, is the number right? And like, I think that any entrepreneur should have like a number in their back of their mind that said like, if I get that offer, I don't care how drunk I am on my company, like I need to sell, because until you make your first dollar, like you got to do it. Like, what do you do it in the first place for? A lot of times, hopefully to hit the first milestone and do something more interesting. So for us, we had a number that we all kind of agreed on that like, if that came across the table, like we kind of have to do it. No matter how excited we are about the future, it's the number. So over the time, lots of offers came. Finally, WP Engine out of Austin, Texas, called us, which was a main competitor of ours. Had a lot of respect for them. So I felt pretty confident that like they would definitely shepherd the product forward. There was a future for it. Employees could find a great place to work, which is important. And we were having a blast. I think that like it wasn't like we wanted to walk away, but I hadn't made $1 yet. I didn't have a 401k. We didn't pay ourselves anything for the first 4 years. It was every value net worth of mine was wrapped up in that company that I had been working on for 8 years. So never had a real job in my life. So you had to do it for your family. It's like a fiduciary responsibility to the family is what we would call it. It's like that has to happen. So that's ultimately why we sold. And I wouldn't do it any differently. Yeah. I'm happy we did.
Did you have time after to just sit, relax, and enjoy after your sale went through? Sale. Oh my gosh.
Did I, Heather?
Or were you just like on to the next project?
Oh, this is
his wife's saying on to the next.
This is my curse, maybe, but
serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm restless.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm the same way. I get it.
I don't know the term.
I mean, not the exact same way.
No, it probably is the same. You're just into fashion. I'm into tech. It's all the same,
and you
right?
just like think, oh, I'm gonna relax or I'm gonna do that. It's like too exciting to work.
Yeah, and what happened was I was making trips down to Austin, Texas quite a bit. I was kind of like put into the role of leading their product organization. That department was bigger than my entire previous company. So it was like seeing management at a different scale, seeing a business do well over $100 million in revenue a year. And I was like, on the executive team. It was interesting and kind of a lot of fun, but I'm a builder at heart. I wanted to like get back to like the early stage of something. And I got reconnected with, a couple early Flywheelers that went on to build their own software company, and they actually sold it. And we're trying to figure out what they were going to do next. And then it was early 2020, March of 2020, when COVID hit, that kind of we all went remote, and it was a 1,200 employee company at the time. And almost just to like figure out something to do with your time, because you're spending all day at home. We started tinkering with ideas on the side, and we actually incorporated the company, and workshop in June of 2020 when I was still working there. And then by January of 21, I had left to kind of pursue workshop, which I could, of course, kind of catch up on what that is. But but for me, like, was there a time before I say what it is? I'm gonna have you say what it is. That's because this will be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I didn't have any like gap at all. In fact, when I this is terrible to admit, but like I've been working on this company, Flywheel, for literally at this point 9 years of my life. I quit on a Friday. I started full time at my new company on Monday.
Oh my gosh!
And maybe I should have took some time, but I felt like the momentum was there, and like I didn't want to lose my.
Right.
I was conditioned.
And you're so excited about something.
Yes,
new.
ready to go. Yeah. So yeah. Now
do you do that a lot? Like get excited about something and then go all in? Because that's how I am. But
you know, I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am pretty focused.
Yeah.
Like I think like that's one thing that I think entrepreneurs have a challenge with is like shiny objects, you know, where
100%.
Yeah, like it's pretty common. But when I was younger though, like my wife knows this shit in the room, like the number of things that I was exploring or trying like all the time. Actually, when I founded Flywheel, I remember telling my now brother-in-law at the time, he was just a boyfriend of my sister's, that this is the new company, I'm working on this thing now, and he almost laughed because it was like the fourth thing.
You're like, laugh it up now, brother.
It's kind of a chip on your shoulder a little bit, but of course you would, because it was like the fourth thing that I had started since he started dating my sister like 6 months before. So yeah, I mean, but I would say that today, I think that I learned that like you got to go 120% into one thing, and I'm not smart enough to juggle many things. So I've been.
He's so humble too.
Deep in workshop at this point.
He really is. Okay, workshop. Let me explain you.
Yeah, what does workshop do?
If Canva and MailChimp had a baby, and it was still better because it integrated with your personal HR system, you have workshop.
Hired.
You got part-time for
it's
working
great actually
moms?
We're actually launching on workshop soon. You heard it here first. There will be a Canva integration, so you actually pull your stuff in.
I love that.
You're more accurate than you're ahead of the game.
Somebody slipped me some exactly. No one actually did slip me information. That's what I got from it.
Insider information over here.
I also love on your website you have get a demo and then or watch the 2-minute video, because when I see get a demo, I'm like, fuck that. I don't have time for that. I'm watching the 2-minute video.
Yeah, so you just got a demo.
Yeah. And I loved it. And honestly, this is why I have so many selfish questions, because so I do events for Midtown Crossing.
Yes.
And then I just have different mailing lists. And I think I need workshop.
Sure. I mean,
because could I do it? Could I have different segments for like vendors and then or like customers and then just
so yes, I'd ask why not just use MailChimp,
because it's annoying and it's just clunky as fuck.
Disagree. I
have tried Flowdesk, which I like.
I've heard of it.
Have you heard of Flowdesk?
I've heard of it.
I wonder if you guys integrate with that.
We do not.
You will.
Maybe we should.
You will. Okay.
You heard it here first. Coming soon.
A lot of promises here.
Workshop. Yeah, so the thing about workshop, if I were to explain it to someone who at least has some understanding of what marketing platforms are, I would say it's MailChimp for internal teams.
For sure.
So it is like marketing platform style things, like create an email, drag and drop, make it really easy, and then send that email to your employee list instead of your prospect or customer list, right? So it's a lot of the tenets of a marketing platform, but through the lens of what an internal communications team is and what they do. So we work with like really big companies. So like a few that I could probably talk about, like Papa John's is a customer, Aston Martin is a customer.
Ooh.
Like these are like big email lists, right? So I always tell our employees that they're like, how many employees do the companies have? Well, like every email they send to their whole company is larger than most companies will ever send to a prospect list. Yeah. Right?
Papa John's.
Papa John's. And that's, there's other large customers too.
Do you get a gift card every week? You should definitely have written that in the contract.
I like Papa John's quite a bit. So like, especially I try my best to, I don't eat Domino's anymore. It's just Papa John's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is Papa John's the heart-shaped pizzas on Valentine's Day?
I think they were at one point. Yeah.
No, I think We
Still
did
do
that
it
this year. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so you're supporting our customers. I appreciate it.
And you're so welcome. That's a write-off.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so the difference though between MailChimp and like what we do and why is there even a market for like the product is that these companies have like the need to sync with the HR system, because what the internal comms team wants to do, the people that are actually mostly sending out the emails to these employees, they want to like send an email to the sales team that was hired in the last 6 months, that work in Dallas, like right now. I need to send that email. So they can't like wait for IT to send them the list. So the integration to the HR system is super important. And then we also like integrate with the other channels they're using. So we do text messaging for frontline employees. So like Papa John's has a bunch of drivers out there. They can use two-way texting to send messages to those without like a desk, or they're actually out in the workforce. So a lot of manufacturing firms, quick service restaurants or fast food restaurants, a lot of distribution companies. We work with Sun Country Airlines, which is an airline up in Minneapolis. Awesome, kind of a cool example because they have pilots and they have people like loading bags up. These are people that are like on the front lines at work that you have a hard time communicating with, and that's what our product does.
Wow.
Ooh, fashion brands.
His wife says, "What about fashion brands?" His wife, Heather, my friend.
Oh man, I should have came prepared with that.
Papa John's, you really get me
Papa
there.
John's is like their
lookbook's
great. Is that the term, lookbook?
I don't know.
Oh man,
For what? Describe it. Like lookbook
for
like
fashion.
Oh my God, I'm so dumb. I don't know.
Don't they do like a thing where they're like, oh, the new fashion lookbook sound? It's like,
okay.
No?
Fine. Yeah.
I'm trying. You said JavaScript and stuff. I'm doing the same thing here.
No.
Help me out.
Yes, that's it. Oh.
Bombas, yeah. Bombas.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. Is that good? So you happy
Oh,
with
I
that
love Bombas. First of all, we got Noelle. No, not we. My in-laws got Noelle Bombas socks for Christmas, and I only came home with one from their house, and I'm still pissed. I'm like, did anybody find a they're like $37 each. I'm like, where is the other half of that Bombas sock? They're like, so good.
Yeah, Bombas is a customer.
Okay.
Do you know the brand Next in the UK?
No.
Yeah, okay.
What is that? What do they do?
They're like Express in Europe. Very large. That's probably the only one I can think of right now. That's
how many clients do you have now at Workshop?
We have just over 300.
Very
customers.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then what size are they? All large as FERC?
Yeah, I mean, Bombas actually is a relatively small.
Oh, really?
Customer as far as employee count. I don't know how many they have, but say they might have less than 500 or so. Most customers of ours are more in like the 1 to 10,000 employee range, so pretty large. Like, yeah, our largest customer has over 100,000 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big.
And your smallest is what?
200 or so.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about one? It's gonna be me.
Yeah, I mean, my wife uses it actually. So like, there you go. She's the smallest customer of one.
Does she just provide feedback all the time?
Some of the most critical, actually.
Yeah. Austin is dead, which I'm like, okay, we're all going to dinner after this.
Yes.
Austin, my husband, and them too.
We just met,
he has like healthcare called Digital Conversation, and it's two-way texting. So we need to like jive on this too.
Oh, yeah.
And I have all the feedback from him, and he's like, "Shut the fuck up," and I'm like,
Heather. I have, and my wife uses Workshop for her own stuff sometimes.
And let's talk about her stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
Parks, baby.
Parks, builds parks. Yeah, she has the most critical feedback. I mean, I got a text message, and it was just like watching her like discover that we don't have a feature in like real time, and it was like, wait, you don't allow you to crop images? What the fuck? This is stupid. Are you serious? And it just like got worse and worse. And I've
you dumb fucking idiot.
Seriously, that was it. And I've used that message at the company to say like, this is like, we need to build this, and we have built it. It's live now.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Mostly like to save my marriage.
It has nothing to do with the need. It was to save their marriage.
Yeah,
understood.
Very important.
So what is your favorite feature with your company? Like, are you doing similar things product wise and with staff? Like, are you doing the same role?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a CEO now.
Okay.
That's a cool title.
That's real cool.
Yeah. Which I wasn't before, which is like a slightly different perspective on the company. Yeah. Because like my days mostly spent helping leaders, strategically like manage their departments, and like how are we like what are we doing in the next 6 to 12 months? Like how do how do we plan in that way and make sure that like we're, hiring the right people and that sort of thing. So I spent a lot of time. I'm like kind of like a mile wide and inch deep, really, like in the company at this point. So I spent a lot of time.
That's kind of the best way to be.
I enjoy it because I love bouncing
big
around.
Picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
And exploring like problems in different departments, but I still probably spend 50% of my time deep on product. Like that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Which is like understand like how we can build the product in a way that like scales and like how do we talk about it in market and like a lot of the stuff that is mostly strategic on the product side. So that we're happy with where the product is now, but what's it look like in 12 months and how do we like walk to
right
it? That's where I spend most of my time.
And different industries probably use it so different too.
Yeah, totally different.
So what is your favorite aspect of the product?
The product itself?
Yeah.
I think what makes Workshop unique in the market, because there's competitors in every market, so we have competitors, but
never heard of the competitors though, so suck it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like neither have I. Papa John's certainly has.
Yeah, no.
One. But I think what makes us unique is it's two things. One is internal communications is a term that I didn't know before I started this company. So I started the company before I realized who we were going to sell it to. But at my previous company, we had spent a lot of time doing that sort of stuff, right? Which is like basically like how do you align your teams and how do you effectively cascade information and how do you communicate to them when it's changing so quickly. Yeah,
and you're like this list. Oh, well, take those two people out.
Yep,
copy 100%. Paste.
It's like it's hard, and then that was only a 200 employee company. It's like at 10,000 employees.
Yeah,
I mean, can't even imagine.
Things fall through the cracks.
Yeah, it's really, really challenging. So one thing that we said when we started the company is we're not a silver bullet. We won't solve all your internal communications problems.
Low expectations. Good marketing.
Set the expectations really low. Yeah. What we will do though is help you, better utilize the channels that you're already in today. So we aren't going to invent a channel that your employees have to like now check a fifth thing.
Right.
We're going to better utilize email, which is probably your primary channel, and in our case recently, text messaging as well, which is a pretty common channel for a lot of the companies that I already mentioned. So that was important. Like it was going to be this thing. Let's take the existing channels. Let's not invent something new, and let's just better leverage those. The second thing is really that at the end of the day, we want to be multi-channel. Like it's, we understand there isn't one channel that solves all the problems in any organization, even in today's world. If they're only in office, they probably at scale are in multiple cities. They have different cultures and different offices. So like communication gets challenging across global companies, even if they're all desk workers. So we really wanted to be multi-channel and understand like how modern companies could use not only email, but text messaging and also Slack and Microsoft Teams, which are chat tools that they're already in more effectively. And in multi-channel is the strategy. There isn't a silver bullet. It's more than just email.
So how is Teams integrated in that for your customers?
Yeah, we cross-post to them. So like if you send an email out, we'll cross-post it to Teams or a channel in Teams, and then we'll collect the data on how people engage with that.
And do you guys use AI to analyze the data, or they're analyzing the data? Or you are?
What's AI stand for?
Artificial.
We use intelligence, some of which is artificial, but
just so like no AI.
Yeah, it's just I. We're way we were early on that. So on the data side, we provide all the data. It's no different than like marketing data in lots of cases where you're like, what's the engagement on this email? Like how many clicks? Where's the opens? Maybe I want to resend it to those that didn't open. And the teams will use that in their own way, right? So a lot of that's kind of on them. We do some stuff with AI mostly on the content side. So it's like maybe I'm building content and I want stock imagery in this email, but I don't want to look for it. We actually just serve it up based off of the content and say this is probably a pretty good use of that. And soon we're rolling out like subject line generation, some preview text for the cross-posting. So a lot of like content generation stuff on the AI side.
That makes sense.
But you should come run data at Workshop because I think that's where AI is like probably most powerful. And you were onto something there.
Totally. Analyzing, so good at that. So what do you think, after talking about Workshop, like have you had, or I guess even within any venture you've had, have you had non-successes that have taught you something or not taught you something, or you're like, oh my God, fuck my life, that's like so bad? Or is it all just like, keep going, keep rolling?
I'm here because of Flywheel. I've started like 6 companies. So like there's a lot of failure along the way.
Before or after Flywheel?
A couple before, one after, and then Workshop as well. So like, yeah, so I mean, with respect to like failure, it's like, I don't know, if you're afraid of that, don't start a company.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being frank, it's just part of the process. And I think that like learning is the important part. And I think that what I tell entrepreneurs a lot about like failure, because I have had companies that didn't do well and I shut them down. And sometimes it's not that they didn't do well, but they didn't fulfill what I was like trying to do. You know, I could have continued to do it for a longer time, but what I wanted to do was something bigger, or that had more scale, or whatever it is, right? And then some things just plain didn't work. You know? Yeah. That is true too. But what I always suggest anyway is like optimize for learning as quickly as possible. Like I always say, like if I'm going to build something, I'd rather know it fails in 12 months than like wait 3 years.
Drag it out.
Yeah, like I don't want to know that. So like whatever that takes, if that means I need like money to invest, I want to hire someone so I can move faster, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. I'd rather do it quickly. So I will say that like there was you mentioned it before the pod, like it's called the Great Website Company, which was
it's still live.
Yeah, the website's up there. That's true.
Almost did the form.
Yeah, you should have filled it out. Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Build a website in 7 days.
I think that's just black holes somewhere at this point. But yeah, between Flywheel and Workshop, I spun up kind of a side project, I guess, that was me building like kind of templated websites. So I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like you paid an agency $2,500 and then $200 a month, so like really affordable for like a small business to just like say, hey, that's my agency, unlimited changes and updates to your website, it's a subscription fee, let's do that, and like let's hire a sales team to just like go sell this thing. It's like hacking kind of the agency model, which I saw at Flywheel. The agencies that we would work with, I've seen many of them do similar things, and the ones that are most successful like productize. So I tried that, and what I learned pretty quickly is like it's such a commodity, like the creative agency work these days, that standing out was the problem, and it really is like a sales problem. And then the other thing about it is I was getting back into hosting. Wait. I just like walked away from it, and I wasn't excited about like getting back in that space. I really did want to try something new. Yeah. And it never really got off the ground anyway. Like I tried selling, I ran a sales process, it just didn't have many legs. So like, yeah, like that was a failure. Yeah. But you got to learn.
Yeah,
it's
for
part
sure.
of the process.
So when you start something new, so for Workshop, who are you calling first? Like you said, you work with a lot of the same people from Flywheel. And then how many employees are you at now?
Yeah. We are at just under 60 employees today.
And you guys are in Nodo, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We're in the Ashton building in the Millwork district.
Is that where, did Flywheel move then when you sold, or is it still there?
Flywheel is still there.
Okay. So you see people you used to work with?
Technically it's WP Engine.
Oh, excuse me.
It's fine. But
you just walk by it every day on your way to work.
Yeah. It's
sold that.
I'm just like trying to lease up all the space in the building at some point in my life. So I'm
So you got to buy the building.
Yeah. So Flywheel is in that space. It's on the 3rd and 4th floor, but they've since subleased it to other tenants. But Flywheel still has a little bit of it. Okay. And Workshop is on the 2nd floor, and we moved in just a couple months ago. So 60 employees, most in Omaha, about 10 remote, all over the U.S.
Just creating jobs here in Omaha.
Just creating jobs, yep.
Do you think Omaha's been a supportive environment for your businesses?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think like that in my line of work anyway, in tech, you can be a big fish in a small pond. There's not a lot of like interesting tech jobs, right? So I would say like you can stand out pretty easily in that way. And I would say that Omaha really definitely like backed us at Flywheel as we grew as kind of an example of a tech company growing in the Midwest. And I think the Workshop's been embraced in the same way. So like I personally am passionate about just growing tech companies in Omaha. Maybe it's just to prove you can. Because a lot of people would say it's hard, and I'm like, yeah, it's hard, but it's hard anywhere. I love Omaha.
How do we compare to Silicon Valley?
When it comes to tech? Like
is that still a thing where people are all down there?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's still a thing. I'm going to a conference later this year in Silicon Valley, in person for the first time in a long time.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so like it's still happening out there.
I loved that show. Did you watch that show?
I did watch that show.
It was good.
It's great.
Yeah, it's like, really good.
I actually, to be honest, I only recently watched it. This is actually a true story. Because when it was popular, I was growing Flywheel, and it was too close to home.
Yeah, it's not your time to relax and rot when you're watching that.
Yeah, it's like it's exactly like it was, which is like it's the cliches are all real. And Flywheel was just a joke at times, in a good way. But, so I couldn't watch it because I was like I just need to go home and not think about it. But I recently watched it because my partner at workshop was like, you have to watch this. Yeah, it's hilarious. I was like, all right, there's enough time removed from like growing that company. It's great. Do it. But yeah, Silicon Valley compared to Omaha, I think that the big difference is how efficient you are with capital. Like I think that like in the Valley, the expectations are $1 billion sale or zero. So they tend to like take a lot of capital and grow a company incredibly fast. And I think the expectation from the investors are like that 90% of them will fail, and that's totally cool because we're gonna have one or two that actually return the fund or like, you know, make us all the money, right? In the Midwest, that's not the case. I think like that that most startups, like they tend to have revenue before they raise money. The investors are more conservative, for better or worse, you know, and they don't really pressure you to, I guess, like force the company down a path that doesn't make sense just for the
money return,
you know, minute possibility that it's $1 billion company, right? So, but that said, Silicon Valley's produced some of the greatest companies in the world because they have that like high risk mentality, and I think that Omaha and the Midwest don't, which means you can create really like great businesses here more efficiently, which I think is one of the reasons why Flywheel could even exist, is because you could hire like incredible talent in Omaha affordably, you know, and scale a company in a way that you probably couldn't do in the Valley. Yeah. So
fun tidbit. What do you think the key to your success has been? That is stable family home because of your wife?
Stable, supportive wife.
She told me to ask that. I'm just kidding.
I should remind myself to make sure to make that plug every time. So points. Supportive wife and family for sure. That is a very open-ended question.
I know. Answer
I appreciate it. Yeah, this is good.
You've kind of already said though. I mean,
no, I don't know. So, I don't know what makes me personally unique. I'm not that special, but I work really hard. I think I assume that I can succeed, and I probably have a little bit more risk tolerance than most people for sure. But supportive family is one for sure. Like I will, like, not to like harp on that, but I remember actually when we started Flywheel, my wife and I, actually girlfriend at the time, we were just moved into our first apartment together
downtown. I remember that
downtown. Yeah, you probably hung out there. And it was probably like only a few months after we moved in. I was like, hey, and she was still going to school full time.
Quitting my job, baby.
Quitting my job, and we're starting a company, and I have this much in savings. We're going to be fine. And she never even hesitated. So like that's been kind of that way since day one. But I think that like I probably credit a lot of the success to just being willing to like put my head down for 10 years and do the work. Yeah. To be honest.
How far into your career did you guys have Ella? Their daughter, 7-year-old.
Yeah, my daughter, Ella.
How old is she? 7.
She's 7. She just turned 7. She just learned to ride a bike.
Oh, I heard.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Proud dad moment. And
I was like, that only took one night. I thought like teaching a kid to ride a bike was like.
Trust me, I was prepared for a month. Like I made a bet with her that it would take 30 days, and like she was like, "How about 30 minutes?" So it was like it's good. But
so we need to get her women in STEM. We need to get her in.
Like she should be in this chair talking about her week riding a bike.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I don't remember.
it was.
We don't even have drinks.
Oh, it was.
Yet.
When did we have Ella?
Yeah, in your career.
In my career, yeah.
Like, was it?
How old was I? I was
7. Carry the one, literally.
How old was I?
midway.
Yeah, I was like 28. Yeah, so okay. So it was. You know, it was mid Flywheel.
Okay.
It was a few years before we sold the company. It was like the height of scaling. But I will say that my wife, you know, I probably pushed it off too long. And one thing that Heather's always told me, this is probably true about entrepreneurship too, is like there's never a good time. You know, it's like, oh, cool. You want to plan it out. You want like, plan everything. Yeah. It's never going to work then. So yeah, like we definitely had Ella at like the height of probably the most stressful time at Flywheel, but we got through it.
Yeah, fun. Are you, obviously, I know you're not into reality TV because I already asked because I was really trying to get down with it. But what about social media? Are you like big into social media or like literally no?
I mean, just big into
like
the socials.
TikTok?
Like, no, my wife does send me reels, and then
Heather doesn't. I had to get you guys to download Snapchat again.
Well, I'm just like
at the wedding in Chicago.
I can't keep up, you know. It's like all the memes on TikTok about the wife sending all of the memes on TikTok,
and you're not responding.
Yeah, that's literally my life. Like, it's too close to home. So yeah, no, am I into it? Not really. Like
okay, that's fine.
I'm also very boring. So like I don't have like hobbies.
I think you're boring.
I like
what podcast do you listen to
like
besides this one?
All the boring. Yeah, this is like my favorite.
Obviously. I love How I Built This. Is that even on anymore?
It's a great podcast.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
I love the Spanx one. Did you listen to the Spanx one?
I have listened to that one. It's great.
It's good.
It's really good. Yeah, the Acquired is a podcast like that too. It's a good one. My business partners get mad at me because I don't listen to every episode, and they listen to it every day, which is great.
Every day? How long is it?
I don't know. It's like frequently, I should say. Hyperbole, I guess. What else? On the podcast side, I listen to a lot of like, this is like probably not interesting to like non-tech people, but I listen to like venture capital crap.
Yeah.
Like it's like This Week in Startups is one that I listen to. It's mostly about
I know
venture capital stuff, like how like that world works. And then listen to the All In podcast, which is like
All In,
which is a bunch of tech entrepreneurs, and they're like billionaires, but they're investors as well. And it's actually just kind of like daily news stuff, but mostly tech slanted. So I'm like, I don't know. This is probably, you're learning something about me, which is the focus, the 100% all in.
Yeah.
Like I don't like spend any time doing anything else besides like work. And then there's podcasts that are just about work.
Yeah.
And then I come home and hang out with my family, and then I go back to work the next day and I do
the same thing.
I'm like kind of boring.
Isn't that America?
It is kind of America. Yeah, totally. Like I don't have a hobby.
Hamster
every once in a while I'm
like,
I need a hobby. So like if you have some ideas, let me know.
The pool.
I mean, we do that enough.
Yeah.
Like, is that a hobby though?
It's a hobby for me. Right? I was at their pool on my birthday, which was July 17th.
Yeah.
And
happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
That's why I came.
I was doing it to make you feel bad, like you had to come. But I had no kids for an hour. Well, I thought it was going to be a half hour. So I'm like, I am laying out in my two-piece. I'm not putting sunscreen on because I want to get tan.
Yep.
And I got so fried.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I had a dermatologist appointment, and he was like, really? You're sunburned? I'm like,
shamed you.
I was like, I normally don't do this. I swear to God, I haven't been sunburned in 10 years, but I was kidless for 30 minutes.
It's my first time.
Yeah. Okay, where can we follow you? Even though you don't post. What about your business accounts? Use Workshop, @Use Workshop.
Why do you say like that? You're just like, not, what is this?
If someone wanted to look into Workshop,
go to useworkshop.com. I would say that anyone's listening, we
give us
hire
a discount
lots
code.
of people. Yeah, like we hire. I like to hire. So like, yeah, if you're looking for like, someone that like wants to work in the best tech company in Omaha, you should tell them about Workshop. Do you
hire part-time?
What's that?
No, part-time moms.
I mean, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, get the job done, sure.
Okay, what are you looking for now? Like,
all sorts of things, like entry-level sales, like for sure. Software engineers, if you got friends in the world that are in that.
Is that so hard to keep software engineers?
So hard.
They're so expensive.
So expensive. And
do you just like promise them like, come on, we'll sell one day, we'll really pay it off, right? Or what?
They'll probably listen to this. So like,
yeah.
But
well, I don't know about you and the company. I'm just saying in general, like for startups, I feel like when I used to recruit, it was so hard to get people.
Yeah, you do recruit. Yeah, you got to build a great culture. I mean, I think like that as they should, they have the ability to move to a new job and anytime they want. Like they're just well, like the market is the way it is, which is correct, honestly. Like they're talented people. They make the world go around, to be honest. So the way we hopefully keep them is, they have some equity in the company, and you build a great environment with like other talented people around them, and like that is usually the correct answer. That's what we do. But yeah, so software
How do you
engineers.
decide the equity? Like, 1%, 2%? Like, you have someone doing that for you, where you're actually
We should hire you.
giving it away.
When we like,
no,
walk
I'd be
so-
like, you get 50%.
I love
you
it.
get
Like, when we
50%.
walk a new hire in, you're like, 2%, 3%. Like,
Show me your best talent.
that's right. Yeah, like, can you sing?
Like, do you
What
do that,
do?
or you have someone do that?
It's kind of like,
Like, I don't understand any of that.
yeah, it's. I don't know if I do either. Like, so there's that, I guess. But the way that we do it is, in most companies, I think, it's based on two things. It's the risk that you're taking on, which is mostly like, when were you hired? Like, were you hired in the first 5 employees, or you hired at like 100 employees? The 50th employee is taking far less risk than the first employee, for sure.
Right, because they could be out of a job in 2 months.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what we tell them. Directly.
Yeah.
But then the second thing is role. I think that this is where like software engineers tend to get more equity at startups because they can demand it. And when you're looking at like total comp, like, it's a piece of what they do. So those two things play into it. And then you kind of build, like, what we want to be is equitable across the org. So you want to basically build some parameters in which people in similar roles at similar timeframes get the same amount of equity. And then the last thing is, you always save a little bit for recruiting, like, someone outside that is going to be a leader at the company, and they need something substantial that's out of the norm. So you hold some equity for that sort of thing.
And do you have a mentor?
Do I?
Yeah.
Lots. Yeah. I mean, I
because I'm guessing I think I know this from Heather, but you are a mentor to a lot of local and non-local
yes,
tech peeps.
I try to be.
Yeah. So who have you?
Yeah.
Who's been your mentor?
For sure. Yeah, so I try my best personally to work with entrepreneurs that are getting started, because I wouldn't be here if people didn't do that for me.
Yeah.
But for me, it's I have a board. Our investor there, I learn a lot from, and also my previous partner, Dusty, I still work with. He's seen far more than I have, even though we went through Flywheel together. He's on a dozen boards and has sold multiple companies. So that's interesting. And then I think other entrepreneurs that are scaling, which I think in Omaha, like, is pretty rare. So, there's someone in Austin that I talk to quite a bit that's like running a company that is, at a similar stage. So it's like trying to find people that are going through the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Which, to be frank, in Omaha is like, there's not a lot.
There needs to be a social media for that.
There probably should be. Yeah. So like you got to like kind of like seek them out. But I would say like my main circle are like investors that I'm working with. And then obviously my partners, and then also my previous partners that went on to do other things.
That's awesome. Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for answering everything. I think I'm done.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to shout out?
No, just thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. If you have any questions, comment them, please. Love you. Bye.